The seduction.
Alright, so I was going to do an intro, but I literally cannot think of anything. My brain has been turned to mush, my little noodle cannot do it, so I'm probably just stood here next to the Elden Ring DLC story reveal trailer, probably doing nothing now, and that is fine, you know? Sometimes that's just fine, so I'm just going to leave this here, and that's the intro. Yep, that's how you do it. Hello everyone, hope you're all having a wonderful day, and today we're going to be going over another build for Remnant 2 that I like to call the Chaos Summoner. This is very similar to the Corrupted Invoker build I did not too long ago, so if you like nuking absolutely everything in sight with explosive damage and turning Apocalypse difficulty to friggin' easy mode, then this is the build for you. For this particular build, we are going to be utilizing Archon and Summoner to try and get the most out of our mod and explosive damage. We're also using the Corrupted Fellion as our primary weapon, which has some very interesting synergies I was not aware of, and I would like to share that information with you guys in this video. It's nothing crazy, and I'm sure most of you guys are probably well aware of these like interactions with the Corrupted Fellion, but I'd still like to put that information out there, and there is definitely one interaction I would like to see someone try to build around. So Ozzy, what makes this build so good? Well, so we have some fantastic damage overall, no brainer. I literally make this one of my first points because that's probably the main point that everyone cares about is, does the build do damage? Yes, this build does a lot of damage. And since we are using explosive mods, we do have pretty good AoE. All you need to do is fire them at the ground and watch all the enemies get sent packing. We have really good mod generation, so we can just spam our mods as much as possible. We actually have pretty decent survivability. I found I was staying alive more than I thought with this build, considering we're using so much explosive damage and damaging ourselves. But hey, that's the beauty of the kinship trait. Now moving on over to some negatives. Not everything can be sunshine and rainbows, unfortunately. There's two negatives I would like to go over. Now, one negative for this build is sometimes in close quarters, this build can definitely get a little awkward. You're nuking all the enemies, but you're also planting yourself on your ass as well. That can obviously get annoying, especially when you get bad timing. You're obviously not going to kill yourself because of the kinship trait. But yeah, just constantly staggering yourself when you're in a tight room with enemies and all you've got is explosive damage to kill the enemy. It can get a little awkward, but it's a very minor thing. I didn't notice it too much, but in some dungeons I definitely noticed it way more than others, and it was, yeah, definitely awkward to say the least. And then number two, of course, if you use this build in co-op, your friends are going to fucking hate you. They're just going to hate you. You're not going to be friends with those friends anymore, because it's not only going to be the bosses that you'll be nuking, it will be your friends as well. Yeah, this unfortunately might just be a solo option only build unless your friends are running similar builds or have kinship trait on, but if you do an online play, you can't expect that, and yeah, you're definitely going to make some people very salty. Enough of that intro mumbo jumbo, let's move over to the gear and the trait. For the skills, we are using Chaos Gate. Chaos Gate is just really good to give us a 35% increase to all damage. This does increase the damage you take. Obviously, taking more damage in Apocalypse can definitely be awkward, but the damage increase and the increased mod generation definitely can outweigh that if you know how to use it. Chaos Gate did recently get changed as well. It was only giving 5% mod generation. Now it's giving 10%. So you can get your mods back even faster to just nuke enemies even quicker, which is fantastic. And then for the summoner skills, I am using the flyer, the minion flyer. I rarely use the summoner skill at all in boss fights because the flyers are just too annoying. They're in your way. Sometimes you'll just blow them and yourself up without blowing the enemy up. So the flyers can get in your way. So I only really use these for exploring, just so they can tank and take aggro off the enemies for me. But other than that, I don't really use the summoner skill. The summoner skills aren't really needed for this build. They do help to take extra aggro and help with survivability, but other than that, they can sometimes get in the way, especially with this build. Now for the armor, I have gone True Crimson Crown, Crimson Plate Guard, and the Crimson Guard Sabatons, and also the Fey Royal Van Braces. Feel free to put on whatever you want. I've just gone with this because I like the way it looks. Now for the relic, we are using the Profane Heart. I don't think I've done a build with the Profane Heart yet, so here it is. It gives us 3% extra lifesteal bonus just passively, which is very, very nice. And then on use, increase all lifesteal efficiency by 50%. Do not worry about that. We're not using it at all. We're mainly synergizing the Profane Heart with the Cost of Betrayal. So the 3% extra lifesteal bonus is super good. It pairs up well with the Siphoner trait to give us 6% our lifesteal. Since we're doing so much damage, we're able to recuperate our health back very quickly. For the upgrades, I have gone with elemental damage, mod damage, and also mod and skill cast speed. Now moving on over to the weapons, the first one we have is the Corrupted Aphelion. I have spoken about this weapon before in my Corrupted Invoker build. The Corrupted Aphelion now, after all the changes it has gone through, is a monster. This weapon is filthy. It is so strong. It has so much stagger when you hit all those micronovas and it makes a bigger explosion. That stagger is absurd. It just sends enemies flying all the way down for a fucking touchdown at the other end of the field. So yes, the Corrupted Aphelion is very strong. I have obviously covered this previously, so nothing really changes with it here. Still using feedback to get the mod back as quickly as possible. The main way you want to use the Corrupted Aphelion is you just want to shoot the micronovas out, hit them again with the primary fire. They all explode, doing crazy damage, and there is some crazy synergy with the micronovas exploding. You don't have to hit enemies to recharge your mod power. So if you shoot the micronovas out into like no man's land, like not even at an enemy, and then you shoot them and they explode, you will still recharge the mod for the Aphelion and also the STARSHOT, which is pretty crazy. So now you can just shoot the Aphelion's mod out, explode them, and that will recharge your STARSHOT. So sometimes when the enemies are really far away, I'll just shoot the Aphelion out, blow the micronovas up, recharge the mod back for STARSHOT, and then peg the enemies like 40-50 yards away. So that is something cool you can actually do with the Aphelion. You can just use the micronovas to regenerate mod power for your other weapons and then just re-spam those mods. Like, don't get me wrong, the micronova is very, very strong, and you're probably predominantly going to be shooting at enemies and exploding at the enemies, but it is nice to know that you can just detonate the micronova and it will recharge your mod, all your mod power, for your STARSHOT, and you can kind of see why this build gets kind of crazy. Now for our melee weapon, I have gone with the Krell Axe. You could use the Hunter's Spear. I've just used the Krell Axe because I like it a little bit more. The main reason we're using the Krell Axe is just to apply the corrosive dot from Tainted Blade Mutator. Land that corrosive dot on the target because that will increase our damage by 10%. Not that we're prioritizing this too much because our explosions do enough damage on their own, but you'd be a madman to pass up 10% extra damage, am I right? And last but not least, the star of the show, see what I did there? The STARSHOT handgun. Now this weapon needs no introduction. We all know what it does. We all know how strong it is. It's been used since day one. But in this setup, it works insanely well with, like I was explaining before, you can use the micronovas to instantly recharge all 5 charges of the STARSHOT. So now you get into the rhythm of shooting out. You shoot your STARSHOT, waste all those 5 charges first, then you Corrupted Aphelion, blow them up with your primary fire, back to your STARSHOT, back to your Aphelion, back to your STARSHOT, back to your Aphelion, nuking literally everything in your way. I have paired this up with the fail-saved Mutator. You could put Harmonizer if you really want to. I don't think it's really needed considering how quick our mod generation is with the Aphelion. So failsafe is going to give us an extra 25% increase to mod damage, and also the level 10 upgrade, you're going to have a 15% chance to not consume charges. This helps a lot with just, you know, mod spamming it even more, but you don't really need to rely on getting the charges back. The Aphelion's going to do all the heavy lifting for you. So the STARSHOT was already a very, very strong handgun. I did forget to mention that its mod requirement for each charge did get lowered, so that's kind of like a buff to the mod overall. So you definitely can get those charges back a lot quicker, which maybe is the reason why this build just synergizes so well together now. Maybe before it didn't do this. Having a STARSHOT that gets those 5 charges back almost instantly when you use another mod is kind of crazy, Now moving on over to the jewelry and the rings, I've gone for some really cookie cutter meta stuff here to try and get the most amount of damage out of this build. Cost of Betrayal Amulet recently just got changed. It was only doing 20% increased damage. Now it is doing 25% increased damage. You also, the negative buff has also been increased to 25% as well. But we're not going to worry about that negative buff because we do not need to use our Relic Heart. Because of the Profane Heart has a passive lifesteal increase, it works really well with Cost of Betrayal now. You just get a nice 25% increase. You only get 1 relic charge, but it's okay because we don't need to use this relic. So yeah, very strong amulet, especially if you pair it up with the Profane Heart. Now, I think this is definitely starting to become meta. I see a lot of people using Cost of Betrayal with the Profane Heart. I'm definitely not the first one to do it. For the first ring, I got Braided Thorns, going to increase our crit chance by 10%. Got Stone of Malevolent, helping us regenerate our mod power. This is the key ingredient with the Aphelion as well. You take this off, you don't get that crazy mod generation, so you do need the Stone of Malevolence if you do want to recharge all those big bang charges back for the STARSHOT instantly. I've got the Blasting Cap rings, going to increase our explosive damage by 15%. And then last but not least, Burden of the Gambler. This ring probably needs no introduction. I think we all know what this one does. Increases our crit chance, increases our crit damage, but we can't hit weak spots anymore, which is fine because we do enough damage without hitting weak spots. So I did go over the obvious synergy with the Aphelion where it can recharge itself and other weapon mods very quickly. I think feedback obviously helps with that equation as well. But something else I noticed when I was playing around with that mod generation synergy is if you put Spellweaver on your STARSHOT, the new mutator did get added in with the second DLC. Now, if you have the level 10 upgrade, activating this weapons mod reduces skill cooldown by 1% for every 100 mod power spent. Now, the Big Bang has a 400 mod power requirement. So 4 times 5 equals 20, which means we have 20%, or you will get 20% skill cooldown when you use the STARSHOT. Now, considering that we can recharge the STARSHOT very quickly, at least get 4 or 5 charges almost instantly when we use the Corrupted Aphelions mod, you can start to see that Spellweaver now becomes very strong for getting your skill cooldown back very quickly. 16 to 20% is nothing to laugh at. That is insane skill cooldown. I did try this with Death Wish to try Insane Death Wish indefinitely, and while it did work very well, but just taking Summoner with its new damage perk, increasing modern explosion damage, it just edges out a little bit more than Ritualist and using Death Wish all the time or staying in Death Wish all the time. But in terms of damage, it only just falls short. Death Wish can be a little bit awkward to use, because if you use it at the wrong time, you know, you screw yourself over more than it does good. But having 10% extra base damage lifesteal would make you super tanky. You'd just be staying at full health all the time. And if you can stay in Death Wish all the time, well, you know, you're kind of basically invincible, really. So I do want to go ahead and show this working for you guys now. So if we use our Chaos Gate, if we use Death Wish, if we use, we'll use STARSHOT first, we'll get that out. And then we'll use the Corrupted Aphelion, back to STARSHOT. Now you're going to see that we're going to get Death Wish back insanely fast. So I think like 4 STARSHOTs, and we've pretty much got Death Wish back, and we still got 5 seconds left on Death Wish. There we go, Death Wish is back, ready to be used again, so you can use it straight away. Unfortunately, Chaos Gate doesn't go on cooldown straight away when you use it, so that will take you a little bit of time to try and get back. But it is really interesting that you can actually get your skills off cooldown very quickly by using Spellweaver with this particular setup. This definitely isn't bad. If you don't want to use Summoner, you could definitely replace it with Ritualist and Death Wish. Use Spellweaver on STARSHOT, and you're going to get some nice synergy. You're going to get your mods back quickly and also get your skills off cooldown even faster. Now, moving on over to the trade cards, I have put 5 points into Affliction, have maxed out Fortify, have maxed out Kinship. You're definitely going to want to do this unless you want to blow yourself up all the time. I've got 5 points into Strongback. This helps us wear the armor that we're wearing. I've got 5 points into Swiftness, just going to give us a little bit more movement speed. I've maxed out Vigor. I've put 6 points into Endurance just so we have some stamina to run around and dodge. I got 4 points into Spirit to help us have even more mod generation. I'm not sure if I needed to go as heavy into this because Aphelion does do a lot of the heavy lifting for us. But I still think you do need some points in the Spirit just to help speed up that mod generation. Got 5 points in Expertise just to try and help get Chaos Gate back a little bit faster. So I had put 6 points into Amplitude. You're probably wondering why the hell I didn't max this out. When you do max this out, the Aphelion becomes a bit dangerous and will start knocking you down way more than it should. So I didn't put max points in Amplitude because of that reason. I was just knocking myself down too much with the Aphelion. So 6 seems to be the sweet spot, maybe 7, but just losing 20% AoE size isn't the end of the world considering we're working with quite a fair bit. I've maxed out Bark Skin, and then last but not least, maxing out Siphoner, which is going to help a lot with our survivability. Plus, it also stacks with Profane Heart, so we don't really have 3% base lifesteal, we actually have 6. Now, for the concoctions, not that any really stand out. There's none that you need to use to make this build work, but the ones that I do like using are Dark Cider and Bark Extract. This is just going to help more with our survivability. And that's basically it for the video, guys. Hopefully this build video did help you guys out. Build is absolutely disgusting. I was speedrunning through a lot of areas very quickly, mainly because of that STARSHOT, getting those 5 charges back very fast. You just aim it at one enemy, boom, all the enemies be gone. Appreciate all love and support as always, guys, and until next time, stay safe, peace out.